So I apologize in advance. I had to move the car around because of the wind. But here it is, the front end. No matter what model you get, most likely you're going to have fading on the front end lights. This is what the lights look like. If I'm not mistaken, all lights had the xenon beam thing. I forgot what you call it right now, but they all come with the halogen. So you can see this one is all faded. Take a look at the engine. This was Volvo's T5, which is a 2.5 liter 5-cylinder engine. Very standard for this model year. Produces, I believe, about 220 horsepower with similar torque numbers. Its competitor being the Mazda 3 and the GTI. This was definitely the faster choice. Being a 5-cylinder, it also sounds quite nice. So, just take a quick walk around the vehicle. Stand back a little further. These were the premium wheels. It's I believe a 17-inch wheel. This is my favorite wheel Volvo made. Take another walk around at the truck. Just press underneath the Volvo signal, and there you go. Now its competitor is the GTI, the Mazda 3 of the same generation. And I can tell you from owning a GTI, my GTI had a little bit more room than this. But I mean, I could probably fit 3 of these backpacks going across. And you got a little compartment over here. You can hold like bottles, or if you have something small, you can hold it there. There's no way to actually like put bags or anything to keep them from rolling around. When this car originally came out, these clips, you'll see them right here. There was a compartment that covers up your rear window, which is a big thing because, as you know, the Volvo C30 has this giant glass window, which I'm going to walk a little bit back so you can see it better. Has this giant glass window, and it is actually probably what makes the car so unique is this glass, this back. So having this, and you know, my window is tinted. You can't see through. You can see me though. So if someone wants to steal your stuff, you're gonna break your glass, and if they break this back glass, you have to buy the whole thing, because it's not like you can just buy everything separately. So you're gonna have to replace this whole thing, which I think I've seen can cost quite a good penny. On the outside again, just the wheel. There's your gas cap. And we'll step back a little bit so you can see it better. Apologize for the wind. These wheels, best wheel that I think Volvo put on the vehicle. I want to show you a quick trick here, if you can hear me. Now you're going to want to go ahead and hit the lock button. Double check you have the key. And then close the window. Move your hand out. Car is locked. Car is now still running. You can safely run back into your house and grab your wallet and not have to worry about it. Now with the car locked, grab the key, turn to the left, unlock the door, and you're good to go. Now that the sun has gone down a little bit, I can show you the lighting on the car. So let's turn our lighting up. There you go. It's a greenish tint, and there's actually a good reason for Volvo doing this. Most cars of this generation had oranges, whites, and reds. I guess Volvo realized that eye strain is a big part of safety while you're driving, and this color is actually very minimal strain on the eyes, which I'm surprised they don't put this color, I guess because they think it's ugly. But personally, I don't mind it. I drove this car from North Carolina at nighttime all the way to Illinois, and I can tell you from doing long road trips in other cars, this, I guess, would be a little bit better on eye strain. We are inside the vehicle. Let's go over the real quick. Here's the key. The key has a sensor on the very tip, very unusual for Volvo. When you stick it in the keyhole, it is not a traditional key. It unlocks the steering column. Turning it once puts it in accessory mode. Turning it once puts it in the battery on. Turning it twice puts it in accessory. Depress the clutch and then slide it over. It was Volvo's way of doing almost like a push start kind of deal, because you only had to turn it once. You don't have to hold your regular controls over here. Window up, down. This is left, right for the mirror. This is your lock, unlock button. The door card also has a slot to hold stuff, but don't try to get anything of value in there because you probably can't even get a Red Bull can. Quickly over here we have your rear fog light. This unlocks and locks your fuel tank. If you have fog lights, this is where fog light will be. I have daytime running lights, so no matter what option I put on the headlight control, the headlights are always on. I have no way to turn that off. You can go to Volvo and turn it off if you do have a C30, or I believe S40s and V50s are also all the same. This right here is your dim. I do have a tire warning light. There's the gauges, the gauge cluster. If you have an R design, this section will all be blue. It's one of the main features that you'll see on an R design. Also, the R design comes with a little R design badge down here. This is a 2.0, so normally you'd have both sides with steering wheel functions, but on my car I do not have cruise control. If you have cruise control, it'll be over here. Again, something that you can easily just take this out, put it on, go to Volvo, and they'll be able to program it for you. Now, going to the main reason what makes Volvo different is their floating dash, which I'll try to show you floating. Nothing back here. You get a little storage compartment in the back, which I just use to put coins in. I also have my rag to wipe down the interior when it gets too dusty for me. This is not carbon fiber from the factory. I have a video on how to put this on if you're interested. So coming over here to the center console, right here I put my phone here for navigation, but you don't have to. I mean, that's what I do. I just use the little sticky pads, put it on the back of an old phone case and just slap it on, and I got navigation. So basically the steering wheel controls, you can control up, down, your volume, and this is all for your stations if you are on AM, FM. And you can go ahead and change through your presets, which is what the buttons are for. I believe some models have a phone system, and you'd be able to make, I guess you could probably dial a number on here. I'm not entirely sure since I haven't actually seen it. So this is your AM, FM. It cycles through. Let me turn it on. Pushing it in turns it on and off. Then you can cycle through. Here's your modes. You got auxiliary, CD, and this does have Sirius satellite radio. I generally leave it on aux because I do have an aux cord, which I'll get to that in a moment. So this is actually what makes, in the long term, these vehicles not really worth it, because the only way to change this, you can't just change the stereo system with an aftermarket unit, because of how this whole system is set up. So this is very, very outdated. The rest of the car feels very good, but this section is very outdated. Going back, you have menu. You have a little list of options. Not very much. I mean, you can hit enter here. You can just change some minor settings. Change the clock. Change the car settings, which gives you lighting, lock settings, window settings. I won't won't really explore into all this because it's very self-explanatory once you get it. Home safe. This is a feature that when you turn the car off and it's locked, you can just press back once, and then your lights will come on to allow you to see where you're at. It's a standard feature in most European cars now. Lock settings, just auto lock and unlock. I have mine to auto lock. Window settings, open up and down the windows. You can do that, I believe, from the key fob, but my key fob is not actually working right now. I have to get that reprogrammed at Volvo. Information, you got your VIN number, number of keys. Oh, this is one important thing. Volvo only allows you to have 4. Don't ask me why, but Volvo only allows you to have number of keys programmed is 4. Right now this car has 3. Currently this key fob is not working, so I'd have to get it reprogrammed, and that might take me to 4, but then I'd never be able to get a second key. So just as a FYI, Volvo only allows you to have 4 keys. Coming down, this is all your HVAC stuff. This is recirculation. I mean, obviously this is basic car knowledge. Over here you have the high and low. One interesting thing is that on the infotainment screen you can actually see what knob you're turning. Awesome, Volvo. Okay, so then in here, cup holder. If you get one, chances are yours will probably be broken. I did a video on how to replace this. You can go watch it. It's like one of my first videos. Down here, got a pretty deep cubby hole. I'll just show you in comparison. This is book. This book is about the length of the cover, and it actually goes all the way down, and then I still have room. So just so you know, this is a very deep cubby hole. Got another tier here. This one's small, barely fits the Altoids can and some chapstick. This is 2-tiered, and I'll show you right now. So one problem with the inside is that when you go to shift gears, the cup is always going to be in your way, no matter what you have there. So the problem is, this being a 2008, I guess they weren't future-proofing it, because this bottle is too big to fit over here with or without anything. It's too big to fit here because then it gets in the way of me shifting. The only other option is what you see I did in the back, is you have cubbies back there. Back there you can fit anything, for the most part anyway. Speaking of the back, let's put this seat forward. I got a back seat. There is enough room for a child seat, but if you look, I'm not really able to see this, but if you look, your child might not have enough room. Here on the passenger side, I wanted to show you guys one other thing that's interesting. This is not for speakers. You might think it's a speaker, but it's not. I think it's actually, I don't think there's anything actually in here. Some of the models have a blind spot monitoring. You can actually get that as an option, and it would have a little light right here that would illuminate if there's something in your blind spot. I think only the facelifted models had that, so that would be I believe 2010 and up. Anyway, that was one thing that I didn't show you on the other side. And you have your glove compartment, which is lined with felt, and it is not padded, a little hard plastic. It's actually, I got a lot of stuff in here. It's quite small, if I do say so myself. So as you can see, things are just like popping out, but it does press everything back, so if stuff like this happens, you can still close it. It's very simple. Alright guys, this is the inside of the car at night to show you around. So I forgot to actually record a outro. Well, I did record an outro, but I was having troubles with the microphone, so I'm just gonna go over quickly a few pros and cons of this vehicle, just to round out the video. I guess we'll go ahead and do pros first. Pro number 1 is gonna be the visibility around the vehicle. You definitely have great visibility with these very large windows. Obviously the large window in the back The only issue I would say would have to be the pillar back here, right back there. Kind of gets in the way. It's actually the only blind spot in the whole vehicle. Pro number 2 would have to be the engine displacement. You get a 2.5 liter 5-cylinder motor, and you know the power that you get from it, the potential power that you get from it if you're interested in modding the vehicle, is unparalleled. There are other cars that are quicker, yes, but in this price bracket, it is a great option to have. There's a few other things I'd say that are good. The waterfall, for instance, it's nice to have it. You get pretty decent trunk space, and overall the simplicity of, well, yeah, I would fault this car on having this whole setup. At the same time, it is so simple to use that if you have a newer vehicle, you get inundated with all this new tech, that sometimes it's just nicer to have a more simpler vehicle. Now, those are like the only pros I could actually think of. There's the list for cons is like much longer. So the waterfall is a con, I would say, as much as it is a pro. I mean, it is so simple and it's so outdated that it actually makes the car look way worse than it actually is. And it's kind of like a throw off point. Like if you even were interested in this, but then you saw the horrible old school stereo that you can't even update, I would honestly say that would just be a perfect way to avoid the vehicle in all honesty. Fuel economy is very lacking. Over my course of 9 months of ownership, my average has been around 23 to 25 combined. If I do just highway, I could probably squeeze out 27, but then again, I am at 145,000 miles. I think your mileage may vary if you have a much newer version of this vehicle. Another con would have to be the aftermarket parts are limited, and a vehicle only comes 2-door. Now, the aftermarket parts, there's a few tuners out there, but overall, you really only have a few options, and they kind of control the prices. You can opt to get some Ford Focus RS parts from this generation model. I don't know if you guys know or not. This platform is the same as the second gen, I believe, Ford Focus. So there are some aftermarket parts you can ship over from Europe, or I think some of them you can actually still get in the States. That is an option. 2 doors only. It's kind of hard to get in and out, and the backseat space is very limited. You really, at the end of the day, another con you just have to have this thing optioned right. Like, for example, I don't have cruise control. I really wish. Cruise control is a feature that I've had in every vehicle I've ever owned, and it's only when you don't have it that you realize how good it is when you're constantly commuting on the highway. So yeah, get the right options. Would I say this is a bad purchase? Under $5,000? No. If you get one under $5,000 and you have under 120,000 miles, just look it over, make sure if it's like a good used vehicle, one owner, they took care of it. Little old lady, it's a Volvo anyway. So, you could probably get away with a good vehicle under $5,000, but I wouldn't go to CarMax and pick up a 2010 or 2011 for $14,000, because I actually saw a red R design for $12,000. It was a 2011. Something like that I think is a bad deal, regardless of how many miles it has. The only way I would say that's a good deal is if you actually intend on modding the vehicle, then I would say it's all worth it. But overall, would I purchase it again? To be honest with you, no. Coming up on this channel, I'm in the process of getting a new vehicle. I'll show that off once the day comes. As for now, if you liked the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.